you know, if something happens to me, my friend cracks a joke about me or something, 9 times out of 10, it hurt my feelings. But what I'm allowed to say is it pissed me off, right? Is I'm allowed to say it pissed me off, but I'm not allowed to say it hurt my feelings because there's more consequences down that piece. So it's a very limited range of emotions that we give young men when we socialize them in through this man box. And what we have to do is begin to work backwards from that and reimagine a different way for our young boys to exist and to be, and to give them not just one narrative that says you have to do this box. How do we begin to tell young boys that it's okay to be you, it's okay to explore your interests, and it's okay to not simply be one thing? Many things are true at once, many truths can occupy the same space. And by doing that, we can break this cycle of consequences that our young men tend to find themselves in, whether it's, you know, a lack of motivation, a lack of interest, not being able to ask for help, which is another piece of that man box, eventually leading through this entire cycle of consequences that can ultimately lend itself to laying that foundation of violence against women and girls. And so in terms of, you know, I addressed the hurt, but it's not enough to simply acknowledge something. You have to acknowledge it and you have to do something about it. So I began to realize that there were men in my life now, and I'm fortunate enough to be surrounded by men that are invested in the message of the White Ribbon Campaign, that are invested in the message of a call to men. And these are men that I can look up to, and these are men that I can be vulnerable with. I tell myself that it's a process, not a contest. You know, 20 plus years of the man box, I can't undo that, you know, in 30 minutes. So I still struggle with my man box on a day-to-day basis. I still struggle with asking for help. But it's a process over time that I'm pushing myself to be able to do, not only to be healthy for myself, but to also model that behavior. I have a nephew who is, he's 5, he's gonna be 6 in July. And I think about when I was that age, what did I need? What did I need from men? What did I need from the world around me in terms of modeling healthy manhood? Because I'm a big believer in you can't be what you can't see. And so I think about who do I need to be for him? I think about the young men here in the Ithaca community that I have the opportunity to engage with. Who do they need me to be? Who are their role models? Can I give them another, you know, alternative or another option on the list as to, you know, this is how you can do it. This is what healthy manhood looks like. And so looking at these men in my life, looking at, you know, the things that they model and being able to model my actions around that, and then me wanting to do that for other folks, begin to see this new cycle being created. And that's what I like to call the cycle of hope, right? So if we have that cycle of consequences, if there's a cycle of cynicism, then there's a cycle of hope. But it takes time and it takes investment and it takes us being real about how we've been impacted by things and how we contribute to this foundation of violence, particularly against women and girls. And the process of me approaching my healing is also about not doing it alone. You know, more than ever, as we are in this stay-at-home situation, all of us may find ourselves in different living situations. I know for me, I live alone. I have a dog. So if you hear somebody bark or you see the door behind me fly open, that's my dog, Archer. But I'm trying to make sure that I don't isolate myself and that I don't take on certain struggles and certain things at work and say, this is just me, this is just me. And I've caught myself in the past 5 weeks, you know, feeling that and really needing to reach out to someone, but then catching myself and saying, well, no, somebody else is struggling, this, that, and the third. So sometimes I'll reach out, sometimes I won't, but pushing myself even more now to reach out and understand that I'm not doing this alone and I can't do this alone. And it matters that we model healthy manhood for our peers and the generation that's coming up after us so that they can know that they don't have to do things alone. And also going back and understanding what does it look like for me to model asking for help for the college students that I work with, the organizations that I advise, my fraternity brothers, all these spaces that I find myself with other men. What does it look like for me to model the things that we struggle with the most? And take power and knowing that by giving myself the power and the freedom to do that, that I could very well be empowering others to do the same thing. So what I do want to bring up is, as we talk about that cycle of consequences and talk about the man box, I'm a visual person, so I love videos, I love memes, I love GIFs, however you choose to say it. So The Mask You Live In is a documentary that was done by the Misrepresentation Project. The Misrepresentation Project is amazing. If you have not seen any of their work, please go to Google The Misrepresentation Project. The Mask You Live In is available on YouTube. You can rent it, you can buy it. And then the Mask You Live In curriculum serves boys and was created by mentors in the violence prevention program. And the program is largely based on that documentary. So that's something that you can access in real time in your community right now if you want to take a look at that, or if you're looking to really further dive deeper into what the man box is and what this masculinity performance is. I highly encourage you to take a look at The Mask You Live In. Our CEO, Tony Porter, for A Call to Men, is actually in that film as well. And so when we think about next steps, and we think about giving a younger generation an ideal to strive towards, and giving them models, and reimagining a world in which gender-based violence doesn't exist. If we could begin to shift our attitudes and say that if we truly want to end violence, what is it that we need to do today? If that's where we're going, if that's what we're going to get to, what is it that I can do in very real time to get to that point? And so in terms of taking action, the Jeanne Geiger Crisis Center Bystander Education Intervention Program, it was modeled to serve 7th and 8th grade middle school boys and girls, aged 13 to 18. And this is a unique experience that has near peer training and relies on student leaders to demonstrate how standing up to peers that are engaged in abusive behaviors can create positive social change. Participants learn to be role models, and they also get the opportunity to learn how to safely confront abusive peers in the classroom, on the playing fields, in the greater community, online as well, as we focus a lot of our attention and time into being in online spaces. I don't know about you all, but I'm in at least about, 10 to 20 Zooms a day. And I'm spending a little more time on social media, not necessarily out of want, but I find myself getting